Hello and welcome to Factory Talk. Now, we have learned recently of the next steps that the country will be taking to emerge from the COVID-19 lockdown and how life in general and business can begin to move forward. Well, to assess how manufacturing can return to normal and look at the current state of the sector, we're joined this week by Tim Darch. Tim is the commercial manager at Quickgrind Limited. They're based in Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire. Tim, it's good to talk to you. Let's just get a brief history then of your company, how it got started.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me on, first of all. Appreciate it. So Quickgrind Limited is a 50-year-old British family-run private company based out of, as you said, the lovely Gloucestershire and Tewkesbury. We're selling worldwide, 37 plus countries and counting at the moment. It was founded by a gentleman and our chairman, Eddie Howell, run by his son now, Ross Howell. Eddie found there's a deep understanding of tooling technology and spotted about 50 years ago that tooling could be reused, remanufactured, not to be confused with regrinding, remanufactured to an as new state. And he saw then that actually there was an opportunity to actually build a business, build a strong foundation of business on remanufacturing of tools. And so that's where it started back in the day. We've now evolved since then over the 50 years to grow the number of people we have. We're to about 35 people now. As I said, 37% of our 37 countries, and about 80% of our business is export now, which is huge. We cover multiple industries: mold and die, medical, aerospace, automotive, for example.
I was going to talk to you about your current markets. You say there's a huge amount of your product that is exported now. Give us a little bit more insight into those markets. I know you mentioned aerospace. There's an industry that's having a tough time at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and I think it will do for the foreseeable future. We have got some customers in that industry, and although it's going to be a very strong, it's going to be an incredibly tough market for people. I think there are still opportunities there. They've called me the positive person, but helicopters, for example, MOD and defence is always growing, and I think also some of the smaller Learjets, etc., are still also growing. So I think even within an industry that is facing tough consequences at the moment, obviously which will bounce back over the next 2 years or so, there are still opportunities within those organisations and industry.
Let's talk a little bit about your background and what you bring to Quickgrind. We spoke about the company, about its history, but you're quite new to Quickgrind, and you don't perhaps come from a traditional background.
Yeah, you could say that. I'm not an engineer by nature. I think the Quickgrind team have tried to educate me over the last year or so since I've been with Quickgrind. My background actually is in technology, in hardware and software. I've done about 15 years plus. Working actually in partnerships. So it's a key area of mine is the sort of channel growth and partnerships, but also covering sales and marketing initiatives. So my background it's been quite varied in terms of the technology I've represented, but I also think it gives me a very rounded picture when it comes to implementing that within a small and medium-sized enterprise. The last 5 years I spent working at a company called Tableau, which does data visualization, which allows people to put data into the hands of people, democratize data, and allow people to make data-driven decisions rather than the opinion-based. This is always how it's been done, for example. And I want to bring that, and I have brought that into Quickgrind. So, yeah, it's not been a classic one, but I think it gives me two things. Well, I think there's two things out of it. One is I've got an outside pair of eyes that hasn't been in this industry, and so I'm not tunnel vision, for example. But I also think it also sort of highlights how much of the engineering industry there is and the openness it could be to people in future. I think people have got this opinion of what the engineering industry and market is, but actually it's so much more different to that. Especially with Industry 4.0, and you look at analytics, you look at cloud, you look at data, you look at customization, for example, robotics, as it was covered on one of your previous episodes. There are huge opportunities for younger people to get into this industry, and it's a very vibrant one, and one that actually I don't think has been given the credit in the UK over the last 10, 20 years or so. I think that will change, and it needs to change.
Yeah, talking of young people coming into the business, and you're right, we did speak about this on a previous programme. Do you also think that apprenticeships are important to work alongside? Obviously, graduates will always be welcomed, but what about the relationship between graduates, the business of manufacturing, and apprenticeships?
Yeah, I think apprenticeships are hugely important. I mean, for myself, I think the one differentiator that's going to happen, and it's going to really, the investment that should happen in the future is around people, whether that's people currently in the business or those looking to get into business. I personally went to university. I don't think it's a requirement going forward, to be honest with you. I think just having an aptitude and an attitude and having the right organisation to go to and develop that talent, that innate talent, is hugely important in the future. I think people make a huge difference, and I think in the future, investment in people and developing them is incredibly important. We have a Quickgrind. We have a Quest program, which is the educational support team, which tries in our own sort of unique and small way to bridge the gap between education and commercial worlds, and that's across all ages, because I don't think it should be limited to just apprenticeships and up or graduates. You know, we try to bring that lower and get people excited about what type of industry it is and how enjoyable it can be. So I think they're hugely important. I think the organisations and the government have a huge responsibility to promote engineering and away from some of our sort of legacy country sort of institutions around financial, for example.
Do you think then there's a real place for retraining existing workforces at the moment?
Yeah, at Quickgrind we have very young and very old people at the same time. Not said correctly, but we've got a vast range of people that we employ at Quickgrind, and I do think there is. I think one thing that COVID has taught us, and hopefully it's taught a lot of other people as well, is that actually you can't rest on your laurels. You have to change and you have to educate people, and I mean that through cross training. I think that's important about retraining people as well. I think about career development and personal development. I think there's huge opportunities and responsibilities. And I think just enabling people to reskill, retrain, be flexible, move. I think that's been incredibly important for us. Unfortunately, you know, we've had to put a couple of people on furlough, but we've actually innately built within our organisation this ability for people to multitask across different teams. They've got different skills. They're refreshing skills that they had previously that they may have not used in the last 6 months or so. So I think that's incredibly important for organisations going forward.
So what about at the moment? Do you think it's are companies just looking to try and consolidate, just looking to survive? Can they still have an eye on the future and look to spend money to invest in people and products?
Well, it's a very tough question, isn't it? At the end of the day, I think there's this sort of two ways of looking at it: the financially secure and the sound organisations, of which Quickgrind is, and then we've been built on a strong financial background and direction that we had. And I think there's other organisations that will struggle during this time. I think you'll find that across all industries. And I think one of the things that two things that people should look at really are innovation. You know, we can't be driven down a cost basis. It needs to be a value basis and a value conversation, and more of a holistic solution. And the second thing is innovation. You know, I think those are the two key things that I look at: is innovation and investment. I mean, we've recently, you know, in terms of the open-minded management at Quickgrind, we've recently just completed a 6-figure investment in solar PV across our factory in Tewkesbury. You know, that's a decision not born out of the last probably 2 years or so that we've been evaluating it. We decided to take the plunge, so to speak, in February and February-March time. We started moving ahead with that, but that's a 25-year investment. You know, we've been around for 50 years. We're going to be here for another 25 years. Not just only the economical impact, but the environmental impact that it will have as well.
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I mean, so much for COVID, for coronavirus. I mean, there's huge challenges ahead, not least of which is the environment and companies. I mean, 6 months ago, before lockdown, we were always talking about the importance of companies becoming green and becoming more environmentally friendly, and that's not gone away, has it?
No, no, not at all. I think it's even more of a requirement now for large organisations. We're being asked and we're being challenged by some of our customers about our environmental and corporate social responsibility practices. What are we doing to affect or not affect the green agenda, so to speak? So yeah, we've done the solar PV. We've put LED lighting across all of it. We've now worked on machine automation, to turn off the machines overnight if they're not being run. We've got robots as well, means we can run without the lights being on, for example. Doing really small, just incremental improvements, and I think that's fundamental to Quickgrind, which is Kaizen, one of continuous improvement. You know, these very small incremental improvements over time have a compounded large effect. So I think we need to keep doing it. There are further ways that we can go. We're working towards a green certification as well. There's lots of other things that we're looking at, maybe looking at electric cars as well for some of our vans, for the local deliveries that we make as well. We're looking at electric charging points for cars in the future. So it's just the start of things to come.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say. Whilst at the moment things might have been difficult, the importance of continued investment can't be understated, can it? In all areas, really.
It does. Completely right. It's not, and don't think of also just terms of investment in financial. I think people need to look at investment in other areas as well. People is a huge one. Development of people is a huge one, especially at this time. It's always been important, but now even more so, because I think that can make the differentiation between, you know, an organisation that carries on and one that actually thrives. You know, I'm always an optimist and look at these times and say, yeah, this is unprecedented. And I use that word. It's been overused in the news, but it is one of those times that will hopefully never happen again in our lifetime. But you can never be too sure. So we have to build in this resilience, and we can build resilience into our organisations through our people, I believe. Investment needs to carry on. Investment in better practices, in better services, in better products and offerings, you know, digitising offerings, digitising what we're doing at the moment. So the investment doesn't have to always be financial. I think there's a case of saying it's in people, but also in other areas of the business as well. Investing time, and I hope during this time, you know, I've definitely done it myself, and we have Quickgrind it's just take a bit of a step back. You know, sometimes you get caught up in the day-to-day running of the business, as we all do. But you know, especially with this glorious weather that we've got at the moment, it's an age to just sort of take a step back, be mindful, understand where you are as an organisation, and really define a strategy for the future. You know, okay, you can't do a 3-year, a 5-year, a 10-year. You can have goals as such, but you know, what's going to happen in the next month? What's going to happen in the next 3 months, 6 months, year? Where do we want to be? How are we going to get out of this? How are we going to grow and turn this sort of negative at the moment into an opportunity?
Yeah. Do you think there's an opportunity for perhaps companies to work together more, to cooperate, to share ideas, or is it still is the competition well, I say problem, is competition still going to be the main thing? At the end of the day, you all want the orders.
Exactly. No, I think collaboration, partnerships, competition, you know, they're all in the same circle, so to speak. And I come from a partnership background, as I said earlier, and working in channels. And I think ultimately we all want that order, as you say, but it can be mutually beneficial. You know, we can generate more together if we work together. 2 examples. I think, you know, one is obviously look at the COVID crisis with the ventilator challenge and how UK organisations turn things around really, really quickly and work together, whether they're competitive in their other side of the business. They all came together. And actually, you can see what can be produced by UK companies, manufacturing companies, in a very short amount of time. So I think it is there. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for organisations, and it's almost about opening up the organisation and partnership. And I think also, secondly, I think that's a great foundation on which FactoryNOW has been produced as well. I think that platform to allow the transparency of people and organisations to work together is incredibly important. You know, there are opportunities and there are organisations out there that do want to work, they just can't find them. You know.
Tim, we've spoken a lot about the challenges and that face manufacturing at the moment, but I always like to finish these with an optimistic look forward. Do you remain optimistic? How do you see the business changing just over the next couple of years, and are you positive about it?
Yeah, you have to be positive about it. I think when any decline, there is opportunities, and there is only one way to get out of this situation, which is to sort of stimulate growth. So, for example, you know, there's new technologies that we have, I think, been forced to use, you know, and I think we were using them previously, but now a greater proportion of businesses are being able to accomplish more with the newer technologies. For example, Zoom or Microsoft Teams, people can work wherever, whenever. We've been enabled by that technology, and whether that's been forced on us or was coming down the line, it's here now, and I think it's here to stay as well. And I think I'd be positive about that. I think there are a huge amount of opportunities for us and for organisations abroad, but also within the UK. You know, I would say 80% of our business is international, but we still want to hugely grow our UK business. There's opportunities in every industry. You know, as one industry pops, you know, another one grows, so to speak. You know, and that's not just to say aerospace is down. But, you know, let's have a look at renewable energy, for example. Let's have a look at helicopters. Let's have a look at, you know, lots of other industries where this can be applied. So I think for us, it's and I think for other people, and there are opportunities. I think there's a lot of sort of data discovery that needs to go on. I think people using new technologies and new services. I think, you know, we're founded on the one of the things we've been investing in is our R&D. We're renowned for R&D and constant innovation across our tooling range. We've got a technology centre which is, you know, on site under one roof. And we've been developing barrel tools, for example, and promoting those for the last 5 years. And we're now looking at new versions. You know, in this last month, we've just announced new products as well, new tooling range, our Mirage Super. So, you know, yes, there are opportunities in incremental investment in processes and new services, digital services as well.
Tim, that's a brilliant positive way in which to end our chat. It's been great talking to you. Thank you very much indeed. Tim Darch, the Commercial Manager at Quickgrind. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for watching. We'll have another Factory Talk for you next week. Bye-bye.